Part 40. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 409. When Binghua received the message for help relayed from Kamigawa by Tianren and rushed to the battlefield, she was also shocked by the scene she saw. The earth was torn apart and there were huge potholes everywhere. Emperor Lion, the sun god of war from the royal family of the Shenhe Tiandao galaxy, was half buried in the ruins. Lin Yuan covered his chest and half knelt in front of Tai Shui. Half of his body was covered in blood and flesh, and the broken bones even pierced the flesh and exposed it. But even though half of his body was covered in blood and flesh, Lin Yuan was not dead. His body was automatically repairing the damaged parts, but the speed was very slow due to the twisted flesh and bones. But Texas, who was the leader of Kamigawa's side, was floating in the air at the moment. The tomahawk he struck stopped midway and could not be completely struck. The space around him was blurry and abnormal, trapping him like a cage. In the center, Astrid, one of the second-generation war gods of Kamigawa, is not in a good condition at the moment. Her long golden hair has become dirty. A pair of eyes on her beautiful face are staring at the Titan King. She raises her hand. She wanted to gather light energy, but she had to spend time redefining the light energy driving formula, because when she was calculating an energy output formula, she was swept by a light blue shock wave, and her thoughts fell into confusion. Some energy drive formulas all need to be re-imported. Seeing that the situation at the scene was so critical, Binghua didn't say hello to the people he knew, such as Tuo Shui. He flapped his wings and rushed towards the Titan King. During this period, he touched the sword with his palm, and a scorching light driven by dark energy appeared in an instant. At this moment, Texas felt that his whole body was undergoing extremely terrifying pressure and tearing from the inside out. Even his mouth and nose unconsciously began to overflow with traces of blood. He was not protected by armor and was only wearing a black tight-fitting suit. His strong body has expressed fierce protest to him, and the energy stored in his cells is being consumed rapidly. If this continues, he will soon be crushed to death by the force field of the Titan God King. From the corner of his eye, he suddenly caught sight of Binghua flying towards the Titan King. He wanted to remind him, but he couldn't open his mouth at all. Binghua took advantage of his flying advantage and easily rushed into the air in front of the Titan God King. He waved his hand and slashed out a sword energy in the air, while Binghua himself used the thunder tactics to sway his body and came to the other side, raising his sword and charging forward. Walking with the sword, he pushed Kisha and stabbed the side of the Titan God King's head. The sword energy failed to break through the protective force field on the Titan King's body and exploded in the air due to structural instability. As for Binghua, who raised his sword and thrust towards the side of the Titan God King's head, it was blocked by the energy field. Although Kisha was breaking through the blocking energy field at a speed visible to the naked eye, this was enough for the Titan God King to react. With just one move, the distance between the Titan God King and Binghua was reduced by more than 10 meters, and the sword and gun held in his left hand were photographed like a mountain peak. I saw a flash of blue lightning in the air. Binghua had already left the attack range of the giant sword and gun, and began to fly around the Titan God King in an arc at the same time. He waved his left hand and several flaming swords flew from the void. It shot out and pierced the defensive field on the Titan God King's body like a nail. As the kinetic energy carried on it weakened, it fell feebly to the ground below. The thickness of the force field defense layer is 0.82 meters, it is a permanent type, and the Skyblade data docking has begun. After only one attack was thwarted, Binghua collected some battle data of the Titan King. After a little analysis, she concluded that if she could not break through the turtle shell on the Titan King's body, sooner or later she would end up like Texas. The Titan God King did not give up confining Texas because of Binghua's attack, but chose to distract part of his attention from Binghua's movements. While Binghua was analyzing the data, he did not give up his attack. He kept projecting flaming swords and self-destructing Tei swords, but they had no great effect. Seeing that the imprisoned Texas state was getting worse and worse, Binghua stopped in mid-air without taking the risk, and shot out several god-killing locks from his side, wrapping around the right arm of the Titan God King. Binghua flapped his wings and dropped his body to the ground. At the same time, he held one of the chains with his left hand and pulled it back hard. The chain immediately stretched straight. The Titan God King, who was raising his hand towards Texas, staggered, and the energy field that imprisoned Texas shifted instantly, crushing a long ravine on the ground beside him. Seeing that this approach was effective, Binghua dragged the chain backwards and carried the flaming sword by his side. At the same time, he connected the weapon's built-in engine at the sword grid to calculate the flaming bombardment. As soon as the escaped Texas fell to the ground, he fell to the ground and coughed violently, and his flushed face began to slowly return to normal. The Titan God King seemed to be irritated by Binghua's disturbance. He turned around and slapped his palm. Binghua and the surrounding ground suddenly collapsed, as if he had been hit by something. His whole body sank into the soil and slid backwards. Seeing this, Texas forced his aching body to stand up, preparing to lift the axe and fight again. Astrid on the other side finally completed the introduction of the energy drive formula. For a while, the battlefield returned to what it was before. Texas attacked head-on, Lin Yuan wandered, Astrid and Piexu conducted long-range harassment. As for Dillian, he had lost his ability to fight, and his life signal was now extremely weak. Binghua was directly hit by the energy shock of the Titan God King. It took a few seconds to recover. She did not go out immediately, but directly started data connection with Tianren Underground. After completing the docking with Tianren, Binghua's data analysis and processing capabilities were greatly improved. He immediately used the Tianren parked in the outer space of Titan to start scanning the battlefield where the Titan God King was. Relying on the powerful scanning ability of the Skyblade, Binghua soon discovered that the Titan God King was surrounded by an energy field of astonishing intensity. At the same time, the Titan God King's attack methods were unreservedly exposed in front of Binghua. With the Titan God King's movements, the huge energy compressed to the extreme swept out like a storm, causing powerful damage. The only thing that surprised Binghua was that the Titan God King was able to restrain this violent energy in an area according to his own ideas, forming a powerful crushing and tearing effect. Binghua did nothing else and began to use the data scanned by the Skyblade to analyze the order of energy particles in the energy field around the Titan God King. A few minutes later, Texas was pushed into the ruins of a temple by an energy blast, and Astrid was soon crushed and seriously injured by the energy field captured from above. Niu Shui dragged Lin Yuan, who had blocked another attack for her, back behind a pile of ruins. For a time, the power of the Titan God King was great. But there was no joy in the Titan God King's heart, because all the courtiers and guards who stayed with him had been wiped out, and a large number of Kamigawa troops and angel warriors were surrounding him from all directions. Hizui and Liang Bing, who had been leading the angels to strangle the remnants of the Titan God clan, were also among them. They just looked at these Titan God Kings quietly, standing there like giant gods holding swords, spears and pestles. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 410. Liang Bing looked down at the Titan God King, who looked like a giant in the sky, with a slight smile on his lips, and said with a sigh, "Is this the Titan God King? This figure is really worthy of the word majesty, but it's a pity, that's all." Liang Bing did not think that the Titan God King could survive today under siege by such a large number of troops. You must know that there are as many as 5 fighting gods on the side of Guangshen He, and there are also 3 Angel King level combat powers on the Angel side. This battlefield. But after glancing around Liang Bing, he didn't see Binghua's figure. Even the acquaintances on Kamigawa's side only saw Pai Shui, Lin Yuan, and Astrid, but the 3 of them didn't seem to be in good condition. He Zui on the side whispered what Liang Bing was thinking at this moment. It seems that the battle situation is not going well. Since Binghua was gone, Liang Bing, as the highest ranking angel among the angels present, took over the command of the battlefield. Liang Bing did not immediately order the surrounding angel legions to implement the best tactics of harassment and encirclement. Instead, he ordered the elite angels in the legion to first use flame bombs to test them from a distance. The Kamigawa troops on the ground seemed to have received the order. The large combat units in the team raised their muzzles and pointed at the Titan God King and began to accumulate energy. The Titan God King, who had been standing there silently, finally moved. He waved his sword and spear horizontally. His movements were very slow and weak in the eyes of the surrounding angels and Kamigawa people, but the effect was not small at all. It could even be said that it's shocking. The ground in a fan-shaped area in front of the Titan God King was pushed across by an energy wave invisible to ordinary people. It pushed forward for 1,000 meters before stopping, leaving a bare ground. Countless earth and rocks, mobile fortresses, Kamigawa warriors, and some vehicles were mixed and piled up there like garbage pushed by a bulldozer. The exploratory flame bombardment launched by the angel turned into fireworks that collapsed in the sky under the impact of the spreading light blue energy wave. Liang Bing's little mouth opened slightly, shocked and speechless. Although Hizui's expression on the side was not so exaggerated, it was also extremely solemn. How can you do this? At this moment, Texas finally opened up the ruins of the temple that were pressing on him, but the scene he saw was a bit unacceptable to him. With a fierce punch on a piece of debris beside him, Texas suppressed the anger in his heart and began to contact Kamigawa's flagship. What the hell did you eat when you grew up? I don't believe you didn't see the situation on the battlefield. Why did you send soldiers to die? After another rant on the communication, Texas was not interested in listening to the excuses of those officials and directly connected to the general channel. I am God of War Texas, Kamigawa. Now all the troops in the core area of the Titan Temple should retreat back. I repeat now, if you don't want to die in vain, all troops should retreat back. Texas's words had an immediate impact. His prestige has always been outstanding among the Kamigawa troops. After hearing this, the Kamigawa troops who came to surround the Titan God King immediately began to organize a retreat. During this period, a person who questioned none. Of course, this is also related to the fact that the Titan God King destroyed most of the Kamigawa troops in one direction with one blow. Texas, who only carried a tomahawk in his hand, swam upstream among the retreating Kamigawa warriors. Wearing a broken combat uniform, he said nothing, and his whole body was filled with the tranquil atmosphere of the moment before a volcanic eruption. Facing the retreating Kamigawa troops, the Titan God King took a step forward, as if he wanted to pursue him, and just raised his left hand to release an energy wave. Suddenly, a chain shot out from the ground behind the Titan God King, went around his shoulder and shot into the ground in front of him. This was just the beginning. With the Titan King as the center, chains with conical front ends shot out from the ground to bind the Titan King in place. Liang Bing, who was in the air, immediately recognized what it was and exclaimed, "It's Binghua's divine binding lock." Hizui on the side heard the words and immediately leaned over and rushed down. The broad-blade silver sword in his hand instantly glowed with red light. The Titan God King's originally raised left hand struck the ground beneath him. A huge roar was heard from the ground, and the ground thousands of meters in radius shook violently. Then it collapsed slightly downwards, opening countless criss-crossing abyss, and the ground near the Titan God King suddenly exploded, and Binghua rushed out with 7 kills in hand. Liang Bing. Trap him. Binghua's voice in the communication made Liang Bing react. Now was not the time to be surprised. He immediately rushed down from the sky. At the same time, the sky began to darken. I don't know when a sky blade moved above the battlefield, blocking the light of the star. Different from the style of the ice flower god beaming lock, a black chain with a thicker diameter shot out from the void, binding the Titan God King together with the God beaming lock. The process was surprisingly easy, and he directly pressed the huge Titan God King half kneeling on the ground, as if it was a reappearance of the last moment of the god-killing battle half a month ago. But Binghua didn't have any happy emotions, because if you look carefully, you can find that neither the Shensu chain nor Liangbing's chains are in contact with the Titan God King's armor. This means that the position around the Titan God King is still working, but Binghua's time squatting underground was not in vain. With a wave of his hand, Binghua carried out an angel-style energy-breaking dagger, and after inserting a special energy sorting formula into it, Binghua threw it in the direction of the Titan God King, and at the same time reminded him. Heikawi, Zingkao. Hizui, who was charging forward with a silver sword in hand, did not reply. He just adjusted his direction and pointed the tip of the sword gushing red light at the heart of the struggling Titan God King. As soon as the energy-breaking dagger shining with energy arcs came into contact with the energy field on the Titan King's body, it burst out with a burst of dazzling blue light, directly blocking the energy field several meters around it. The next moment Hichui's attack arrived, with a roar, a red fire cloud rose up from the heart of the Titan God King, and a terrifying shockwave spread out, causing even the restrained Titan God King's upper body to lean back. But after a few seconds, Binghua's expression changed, and an invisible shockwave directly suppressed the red fire cloud. The Titan God King had been holding the sword and gun tightly in his hand, and the irregular crystals on it were shining brightly. Under the impact of the light blue energy wave, both Binghua and Liangbing felt that their control of the chain was disconnected. But at this moment, Texas, who was running wildly on two legs, finally arrived. He jumped up directly, jumped over the ice flowers and cold ice in the air, shouted with a blow, and hit the Titan God King on the forehead with an axe. He hit the Titan God King who had just stood up and knocked him down half kneeling on the ground. Although it successfully hit the Titan God King in the head, Texas was thrown away by the force of the counterattack because of its huge size. At this time, Binghua finally saw the Titan God King's chest clearly. Except for the burnt black breastplate and a shallow sword mark, there were no wounds. At the same time, Binghua also discovered that Texas's attack just now was not blocked by the energy field, so the lightning on his body shone, and in the blink of an eye he crossed a distance of 100 meters to the front of the Titan God King, and slashed with the 7-killing King sword quickly. The harsh sound of metal cutting reached the ears, and huge resistance passed along the sword body into Binghua's hand holding the sword. The invincible 7-kill sword actually shriveled on the Titan God King's faceplate this time, failing to cut it open, leaving only a shallow sword mark. Seeing this, Binghua's figure flashed again, came to another place and slashed with his sword again. A silver fragment the size of a fingernail flew up and was caught by Binghua in his palm. The next moment, a familiar feeling of repulsion came, and Binghua was directly knocked away by an energy wave, falling to the ground hundreds of meters away. The Titan God King tore off the chains hanging on his body several times. The first thing he did after standing up was to press Texas into the ground with an energy wave. Then the energy intensity around the Titan God King increased dramatically. Kamigawa's flagship and Skyblade sounded the alarm together, alerting personnel on the battlefield that a strong energy reaction was detected. Binghua, who had just crawled out of the huge pit he had made, heard this and immediately ordered over the Angel's communication channel. All Angel warriors on the battlefield listen to the order and retreat immediately. Keep a straight line distance of more than 10 kilometers from the Titan King. After issuing the order in the communication channel, Binghua contacted Heikawi and Liangbing alone. You guys should come back first. The Titan God King's armor is very unusual. We can't do anything to him for the time being. After the angels began to retreat, Texas Dumunanzi also issued a retreat order and protected Tongxiu and others from the battlefield. The Titan God King only gave up after chasing for a few steps and returned to his mostly damaged temple. Then a blue energy shield protected the area where he was. At this point, the Battle of Titan came to an end. Except for the Titan King, a special Titan, all other Titans have been wiped out. After Kamigawa and Angel's ground forces retreated to the battleship, Texas proposed using a Star Destroyer strike to destroy the large planet, but was stopped by Hyuga. The reason is very simple. The Angel civilization is very interested in the body structure of the Titan God King and its ability to create energy waves that interfere with the existence of energy. It plans to capture or kill the Titan God King alive. Texas was too embarrassed to destroy the planet without the Angel's consent, so he could only go back and take charge of the overall situation. The first thing to solve was the fall of the Sun War God. After DeLion was sent to the Shenhe battleship, he died of excessive injuries. He died due to energy failure in his body before the treatment equipment was in place. It has to be said to be a pity. Not mentioning all the various chores over Kamigawa, after returning to Tianren, Binghua asked Liang Bing to pay attention to the situation on Titan and then plunged into the laboratory. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 411. The 18th cutting experiment begins. As a research angel spoke out, in the space isolated by the energy barrier in front, a red-edged blade began to slowly approach a piece of metal the size of a fingernail that was fixed there. Along with the harsh sound of metal cutting, bright sparks splashed everywhere. After about 2 seconds, the blade and the metal separated. After seeing the situation of the two clearly, the research angels who were watching sighed, turned around and said to Binghua who was sitting behind. Queen, I'm sorry, conventional cutting technology cannot cause much damage to this metal in a short time, and technology that can cut this metal cannot be weaponized in a short time. Binghua's eyes stared at the small metal block fixed behind the energy barrier, and the fingers rubbing each other suddenly stopped. This result was not what Binghua expected, but she still asked her scientific research angels to conduct this experiment, hoping that a miracle would happen. This piece of silver metal the size of a fingernail is the small piece that Binghua cut off from the sharp corner of the Titan King's helmet. As an angel who has made great achievements in weapons and materials science, Binghua immediately discovered the extremely familiar properties of this metal, which was exactly the indestructible property of the most cutting-edge weapon of the angel civilization, the dark silver weapon. However, although this armor fragment obtained from the Titan God King has some characteristics of the dark silver weapon, it cannot be said to be an dark silver weapon. Dark silver mines are not unique to the Angel Nebula. They may be formed in the harsh cosmic environments of various nebulae and galaxies. However, civilizations that are capable of smelting and exerting the properties of this metal are very rare in the universe, so they have never been very famous in the universe. The Angel's dark silver alloy formula was accidentally invented by the Angel civilization during the experiment. It has always been top secret. In the early years, if the female angel had not raided the Academy of Sciences in Tiancheng during the Huaya period, it would have packaged the high-end information of the angel civilization. Binghua later seized the physical dark silver weapon for comparison and cracking analysis. It was impossible for the female angel to obtain this cutting-edge technology. Thinking of this, Binghua no longer had any intention of staying here anymore. He stood up, greeted Jingnan beside him, and left. Queen, what should we do next? Jingnan, who was following him, asked softly. How is the situation on the other side of Kamigawa? Facing the Queen's inquiry, Jingnan, who had previewed the information in advance, opened his mouth and told the current situation on the Kamigawa side. After Kamigawa's ground troops evacuated from Titan, their morale was bleak due to heavy casualties, and the fleet was already making preparations for the evacuation. Strictly speaking, both the top brass of Kamigawa and Angel felt something was wrong in the Battle of Titan, but no one was willing to bring it up, because it was useless to raise it. Anyway, they had eliminated the main force of the Titan Protoss and the threat of the Titan Protoss. It no longer exists, and Kamigawa is not willing to live in trouble again. From their urgent proposal to destroy Titan, Binghua discovered that Kamigawa's side wanted to end the expedition as soon as possible and withdraw their troops from the Red Star Ring. Texas and other gods of Kamigawa who fought against the Titan God King began emergency repair of their bodies after returning to the fleet, and they have not yet come out of the repair warehouse. Hearing this, Binghua knew in her heart that Kamigawa's side would be unreliable in the subsequent god-killing battle. If they wanted to deal with the Titan God King, they could only rely on the angel civilization. However, Binghua was not in a hurry. According to Tianren's detection, the Titan God King was staying quietly on Titan, with no intention of escaping. After entering his office, Binghua gave instructions to Jingnan beside him. Jingnan, go and sort out the energy measurement data during the battle against the Titan God King. I will need to check it later. Jingnan understood what he said, nodded slightly and turned around to leave. Binghua herself was the only one left in the room. She came to the long table and sat on the white cushioned chair. She pulled out a projection screen and started calling Kesha. After the communication was successfully connected, Binghua and Kesha greeted each other and then got down to business. Binghua recounted the story of the Titan God King to Kesha, emphasizing that the Titan God King made energy fall into inertia, thus the special ability to ignore energy attacks. According to what you said, this ability is very precious. Binghua nodded and said with a very serious expression. According to Skyblade's analysis, this mysterious energy comes from the Titan God King's weapon. If angels can obtain and apply this energy field method, then the survival rate of our soldiers will be greatly improved in the future. So I think this technology is worth the risk for us angels. Kesha sighed, looked at Binghua who had a firm look on the other side of the projection, and slowly spoke out to comfort her. Binghua, as the king of angels, I admire you for taking risks for the sake of the growth of angel civilization. But as a sister, I still hope that your adventurous personality can change a little. If the technology is not available, we can initiate research and development projects. If something goes wrong with you as the Holy Left Wing, today's Merlot heaven will be in great turmoil, so listen to me and don't take risks. You and Kamigawa's team had nothing to do with him before, so don't act without permission. Wait for me to come over and tell you. Binghua was originally lowering her head slightly, pretending to listen humbly. This was the way she came up with in response to Hexie's lecture, but she raised her head in surprise because of Kesha's last words. Sister Kesha, you have to come over here. Kesha saw Binghua's surprised look and thought it was very interesting, so she smiled and joked. Why can't I go? Or is there something over there that I can't see? If that's the case, I'll go even more. No, Sister Kesha, I'm just a little surprised. Liang Bing and I can handle it here. You don't need to make a special trip here. Kesha made a soft nasal noise, there's no need to hide it. If you contact me suddenly, doesn't it mean that you don't have any confidence in your heart? Without the help of Kamigawa, you alone can't deal with the Titan King. Hearing this, Binghua quickly explained, isn't there still Liang Bing and he chasing them? I won't talk to you about all this, I just want to go there anyway. As the king of angels, I have to learn a lesson from the majesty of the guy who dares to call himself God King. Binghua felt a little helpless. Facing Kesha, who was unreasonable at first, she had no choice. She was the king of angels and she was the holy left wing under her command. In the end, she could only nod in agreement. After hanging up the communication with Binghua, Kesha leaned on the throne happily. The reason why she insisted on going to Titan was not because she wanted to help Binghua take down the Titan God King. But during this period of time, Kesha was so idle that she was almost going to be moldy. Having just obtained the second-generation divine body technology, she was like a child who got a new toy. However, there was no room for her to play in this war, and there were a few idle in the rear. Moon. The communication sent by Binghua just now gave Kesha a reason to take action, so she ignored Binghua's protests and objections and planned to go to Titan to exercise. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifen Si Wang. Chapter 412. In the partially collapsed and damaged ruins of the temple, the Titan God King sat on a collapsed giant carved stone pillar, with a giant sword and gun stuck upside down in the floor next to his feet. Faint crystal blue energy particles continued to emit from the weapon. The irregular blue crystal embedded in it spreads out and disappears into the surrounding air. The Titan God King's originally strong figure with his armor propped up now returned to the thin appearance he had sitting on the throne a few days ago, looking like a lifeless statue. If it weren't for the slight undulation of the armor on his chest and the slow and heavy heartbeat in his chest from time to time, others might really think that he had died silently here. Suddenly the Titan God King moved. He had remained motionless, slowly lowered his head, and looked at his hand, which was wrapped in armor and was trembling slightly. As a Titan who has survived for tens of thousands of years, he spent an extremely long time from an ordinary warrior to becoming the Titan God King. He witnessed the Titan's decline from glory to decline, and then emerged from decline and developed into today's scale. I don't know since when, he can no longer remember his original name, and the Titan God King became his new name. He handles various things within the Titan God clan as efficiently as a machine, and leads civilization with absolute rationality. After defeating the overlord of the Red Star Ring, several powerful animal civilization empires bowed before the powerful power of the Titans. In order not to follow in the footsteps of his ancestors tens of thousands of years ago, the Titan God King did not despise the technology that the Divine River civilization was proud of. After destroying several powerful Kamigawa civilizations around him, the Titan God King absorbed their technology. In the advanced civilization, scientific and technological means were used to create alloy armor with strong defensive power, and even special weapons that enhanced the combat power of the Titan gods. They even formed a Titan fleet across the Red Star Ring. Until thousands of years ago, the ancient Kamigawa civilization mysteriously perished, and only a few descendants of the ancient Kamigawa survived. In the civilization star domain affiliated with the original ancient Kamigawa, the new Kamigawa Pan-Civilization Alliance was formed. From this, the Titan God King saw an opportunity, and saw the opportunity for the Titan God clan to aspire to be the hegemon of the known universe. Of course, the real reason was that the Titan God King was unwilling to do so. Tens of thousands of years ago, the ancient Kamigawa civilization launched a massive physical war against the entire known universe, wiping out countless powerful beast-like civilizations or expelling them from the prosperous star cluster at the center of the known universe. The Titan Protoss was one of the losers at that time. They were expelled from the ancient Divine River galaxy and came to the relatively remote star field of Red Star Ring. As one of the survivors of the Titan civilization, the Titan God King personally witnessed how the glorious Titan civilization was destroyed by the ancient Divine River, and countless relatives and friends died in wars and massacres. Therefore, after discovering the destruction of the ancient Kamigawa, the Titan God King decided to take advantage of this great opportunity to erase the survivors of the ancient Kamigawa from the universe, thereby allowing the Titans to ascend to the throne of the strongest civilization in the known universe. As early as 2,000 years ago, the Titan Protoss began preparations for war, summoning several animal civilization empire forces such as the Shima Empire, the Tianding Stars, and the Sabata War Alliance under their command, and began to attack the star field where the new Kamigawa Pan-Civilization Alliance is located. Go ahead. I don't know if it's because the ancient Kamigawa civilization, the Kamigawa body civilization, has lost its backbone, but all kinds of monsters and snake gods are gradually appearing in the known universe. The first one to stand out was the triangle creature. The Titans had a fight with the Triangle at the border of the Red Star Ring more than 800 years ago due to territorial conflicts in several star systems. As a result, both sides were afraid of each other and gave in. What followed was the chaos virus that was raging in remote star fields, turning countless galaxies into desolate places. Then came the eternal ascended ones who were pursuing the purification of the chaos virus. For a time, with the original ancient Kamigawa galaxy as the center, the entire known universe became completely lively. As the ruler of the beast body civilization of the Red Star Ring, the Titan Protoss was not willing to be left alone, and launched a second physical war against Kamigawa that was different from tens of thousands of years ago. This physical war is no longer the expulsion and massacre of the beast body civilization by the Kamigawa body civilization, but a war in which the beast body civilization attempts to regain its former status and stifle future enemies. For a time, raging wars ignited throughout the known universe, and the new Kamigawa Pan-Civilization Alliance was caught in the middle by the coalition forces of the Triangle and Beast civilizations and suffered terribly. But the reality was not as expected by the Titan God King. The new Kamigawa Pan-Civilization Alliance actually withstood the first wave of offensive from the Beast Body Civilization Coalition. It is said that a skinny camel is bigger than a horse. The survivors of the ancient Kamigawa civilization mastered the huge technological heritage of the ancient Kamigawa civilization. With their generosity, the strength of the civilizations that joined the new Kamigawa Pan-Civilization Alliance began to expand rapidly, and soon it has reached the point where it can compete with the Beast Civilization Coalition. The Titan God King once asked his Titan Lords and Titan Gods to lead the Titan fleet to attack the new Kamigawa. The result was that both sides suffered losses. Although they succeeded in severely injuring the few war gods in Kamigawa, the Titan gods of the Titan tribe also lost more than a dozen Titan gods. From then on, the Titan God King no longer sent the already sparse Titan gods to the battlefield of the physical war, but relied on the large number of animal civilization coalition forces to kill Kamigawa's strength and vitality. This tactic was still achieving good results until the angel civilization intervened in this war. The new Kamigawa civilization was almost unable to sustain itself in the endless war. But after the angels intervened in the physical war, the situation began to collapse at a speed that the Titan King could not react. First, the Shima Empire, which was the main provider of soldiers to the coalition, split. After that, the Sabata War Alliance suffered heavy losses, and the Tianding people fell into internal chaos and no longer obeyed the instructions of the Titans. These problems in the rear further affected the front-line troops in the new Kamigawa system. By the time the Titan King made a remedy, it would be too late. The death of the Lord God of Flame caused the Titan Protoss to lose an important combat force. Then the God of Thunder was injured, and the God of War was defeated by the cooperation of the God of War Kamikawa, causing the situation on the front line to completely reach a dead end. The result of recalling the God of War was that the situation on the front line collapsed even more quickly, but what they did not expect was the news that the God of War was intercepted and killed by the angel civilization. Faced with the shortage of major generals, the Titan God King could only cut off his tail to save lives, and let the God of Forging lead the new generation of the Titan Protoss to leave the Red Star Ring to find a way out and prevent the Titan Protoss from being wiped out from the universe by Kamigawa and the angels. Just when the Titan God King was reviewing the recent past, a dull explosion sounded, followed by a slight tremor on the ground. The crystal blue light escaping from the sword and gun that was originally inserted upside down into the ground suddenly became brighter, wrapping the Titan King's body hundreds of meters in it. The next moment, a huge roar sounded, the floor of the temple was lifted up, and countless pieces of gravel and river soil were splashed everywhere. The three heavenly blade warships were suspended in a square shape above the core area of the temple complex on the surface of Titan, with huge shadows covering most of the surface below. After the sky blade stopped moving, the spear of light carried on the ship launched a direct bombardment at the dilapidated temple where the Titan King was located below. A large beam of light like a spear shot into the ground, and the terrifying power left large craters of tens of meters on the ground. The broken temple shrouded in a light blue light curtain was not spared either. It is better to say that the sky blade the goal is here from the beginning. The mud and dust smoke from the explosion completely covered the ruined temple, making it impossible for the angels on the sky blade to see clearly the detailed conditions. But in an instant, the soil and gravel splashed into the air suddenly trembled, forming a big yellow river and rushing toward the sky blade high in the sky. But soon, several groups of fierce fires rose up on the river of earth and rocks, exploding the river into pieces. The Titan God King stood on the only relatively intact piece of ground below, looking up at the sky blade battleship above his head. Without any words, the Titan God King clenched his right hand into a fist and struck hard in the direction of a sky blade. The air distortion visible to the naked eye struck the sky blade high in the sky. At this moment, in the sky blade's detection interface, a huge twisted mass of energy was heading straight towards the sky blade, and finally hit the shield with a bang. The Titan God King below made a movement, raised the sword and gun in his left hand, and a light blue energy shockwave spread in all directions. Among the three sky blades parked in mid-air, the angel responsible for controlling the battleships changed his expression and quickly reported loudly. The shield of Sky Blade has been eroded by unknown energy and is rapidly losing strength. Before this female angel finished speaking, another female angel reported. The unknown energy has broken through the Sky Blade shield. The energy output of the Sky Blade engine has begun to decrease rapidly. Almost at the same time, all the angels on the ship felt a falling feeling under their feet. The sky blade that was originally suspended in the sky began to slowly fall towards the ground. Seeing this, the Titan God King put down his raised sword and gun, and opened his hand towards the closer sky blade, but suddenly a harsh scream sounded. A 4-meter-long flaming sword energy as thin as silk fell on the back of the Titan God King, interrupting his movements. Then a flash of silvery cold light struck, and a huge metal wing suddenly struck from the side, slicing across the left arm of the Titan God King, sparking a burst of dazzling sparks, and leaving a long and narrow cut. Accompanying this was an ethereal and majestic female voice that echoed throughout the space. I can't let you continue to destroy a sky blade, but it will take a lot of time to repair. When the Titan God King heard the news, he found that at some point, a blonde winged woman came to him sitting on a large throne that looked like an upside-down blade. At this moment, the winged woman was pointing upward with two fingers together. The void behind her was twisted, and silver blades shining with cold light came out, pointing in her direction. Kesha sat on her cross throne, looking down at the Titan God King standing on the earth below. Her eyes focused on the incision left by the silver wing on his left arm armor for a moment, and sighed to herself, "It's so hard." Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 413. The Titan God King raised his head and stared in Kesha's direction. He arched his right arm and punched out fiercely, but during this period, several silver chains flew from the side and wrapped around his forearm. With the pulling force coming from the other end of the chain, the huge figure of the Titan God King was dragged to the right area. Binghua maintained the starting state of the micro-wormhole, and at the same time used the supercomputing power connected to the sky blade to drive the other end of the chain to increase the drag force. At this moment, in Binghua's arsenal, the special winch connected to the God beaming lock was rotating clockwise, erupting with powerful force through the complex internal byte structure. For a moment, the Titan God King, who was 100 meters tall, was unable to stop himself. The body slides towards Binghua's direction. And this is not the most dangerous situation. Angel Ran and Angel Hezui, who were skimming the formation, did not just watch from the sidelines. They picked up their weapons and rushed towards the Titan God King in two directions. Boom! A red fire cloud rose on the back of the Titan God King, and then was cut in half by a flash of silver cold light, leaving an indelible mark on the Titan God King's back. Kesha sat on the cross throne, her fingers sliding in the void, while silver metal wings with a width of nearly 5 meters, hundreds of meters away, flew up and down in the air, shuttling around the Titan King. This guy is quite tenacious. But his size doesn't give me the advantage. While speaking, Kesha's hand that had been on her left side suddenly lifted up, stretched out 2 fingers and put them together. The next moment, the silver blades that originally poked out from behind Kesha flew out of the wormhole and spliced with each other in the air. It became 4 giant silver blades with a length of more than 8 meters. Liang Bing also came to the side of the Titan God King at this moment, carried out a slender triangular metal pillar with complex sacred language written on it, and then immediately changed its position and went to the other side to continue the arrangement. After a long absence, Liang Bing lost her previous activity as she fought against the enemy with her sister Kesha. Faced with the constant bombardment and harassment of flames, the Titan God King finally no longer held back, and a blue light flashed on the sword and gun held in his left hand. Everyone present, whether it was Kesha, Binghua, Liang Bing, Hizui or Ran, all felt that their drive for dark energy had been disturbed to a certain extent. The result of this was that the 4 large silver blades originally aimed at the Titan God King lost their aim and pierced the ground beside the target. The flame bombing that Hizui and Ran were preparing had a problem with the dark energy drive, causing the energy gathered on the flaming sword to escape into the surrounding air. As for Binghua, because she was far away and linked to the Heavenly Blade battleship, the Shensulok she controlled only paused for a moment. It was at this moment that the Titan God King found an opportunity. His right hand, which was wrapped in chains, clenched his fist and struck forward. Then he opened his hand and turned around to wave his arm. Binghua subconsciously carried out the silver feather to form a shield in front of him, and then smashed into the ground behind him under the energy wave. The Titan God King's vertical energy wave covered Angel Ran and a large area of space around him. Without any resistance, Angel Ran also flew out. With a roar, Hizui took the opportunity to hit the back of the Titan God King with a flame bomb, causing his huge figure to stagger forward. Although he said he didn't care much about the battle, Kesha quickly caught it. Silver blade cutting. The harsh sound of metal cutting sounded, and several more cutting marks were added to the armor on the back of the Titan King. Before Kesha could continue to expand her victory, the Titan God King's force field actually centered on itself and crushed the surroundings. The large silver blade flying in mid-air was suddenly unable to move any further, trembling and stopping dozens of meters away from the Titan God King. Kesha frowned slightly, a pair of fingers kept sliding in the air, and the fingers that controlled the silver blade froze in mid-air. The situation was stalemate for a while, but was soon broken by an attack from the sky. A sword of fire with a length of more than 100 meters and a diameter of more than 10 meters, glowing with orange-red light, fell from the sky. The air for thousands of meters was dyed with a faint orange light. Liang Bing, who was deploying energy field nodes, yelled out loud when he saw this, "Binghua, you lunatic, I'm still here." The next moment, the shape of the giant flaming sword, whose tip sank into the ground, began to deform, and then the dazzling fire engulfed the surrounding area for nearly a kilometer. When the firelight subsided, the 2 pairs of silver wings surrounding the cross throne slowly opened, revealing the frowning Kesha inside. Because Angel Ran was far away before, apart from being disgraced by the shockwave, she did not suffer any damage. Only Liang Bing and Hizui suffered some minor injuries. Binghua flew out of the soil at some point. His dark eyes glanced around, directly ignoring Liang Bing, who was jumping on the ground and cursing, looking for the Titan God King. Body shape. The blast just now was the main gun of the new generation of Skyblade. Of course, the power is definitely not the energy output limit of Skyblade, it is just the conventional equivalent. But even so, a large piece of the ground in the center of the explosion disappeared, as if it was forced by an iron pickaxe. The ground was like chiseled ground, and the area with a radius of 1 kilometer was turned into scorched earth. Kesha didn't care whether the Titan God King was dead or alive, but recycled all the silver blades she had previously controlled into the weapons arsenal, and asked aloud through the communication channel. "What happened just now was so sudden, Binghua, you didn't even remind us. If this throne is blown up by you, He-11 will have to find a reason to nag me for a long time." Binghua replied while searching for the location of the Titan God King. "The opportunity just now was great. Besides, I believe you will be fine." Liang Bing below saw that no one paid attention to him despite being noisy for so long, so he snorted unhappily and continued his work. Those who participated in the siege of the Titan God King, whether it was Kesha, Liang Bing, Ran and Hizui, were all experienced in battles. In addition, as long as they were not directly hit by the main cannon of the Sky Blade, considering their physical strength, even death is difficult. Soon Binghua discovered the traces of the Titan God King. In the ruins at the center of the explosion, the Titan God King slowly struggled to get up. The silver armor that was originally as clean as new was now in a mess, and due to the bombardment of the Sky Blade's main cannon, several pieces of the armor were missing, exposing the internal structure and some of the shrunken body tissues. And when Keisha and Binghua saw clearly the structure of the gap in the Titan God King's armor, the two women fell silent. In Binghua's gene engine control interface in the Dark Plane, with the help of the powerful computing power blessed by the Sky Blade, the scanned image of the Titan God King suddenly appeared here. Based on the scanning results of Sky Blade from the gap in the Titan God King's armor, Binghua obtained the following information. The Titan God King's body has aged and shrunk extremely severely, and is almost no longer able to provide him with any power. The layer of black mechanical structures inside his body and under his armor are devices used to assist his actions. At this moment, the internal structure of the armor was damaged, and the Titan King's movements were extremely inconvenient. After climbing out of the ruins with great difficulty, he stood on the earth again. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 414. No wonder the Titan God King has never been seen using the sword and gun in his hand to launch an attack. It turns out that his body cannot support him in high-intensity battles. The slow attack that relies on the auxiliary power inside the armor cannot attack any enemy at all. Therefore, whether it was the last battle with Texas or this time with the Angel, the Titan God King stood still like a target, using that special energy waves and force field energy to attack. Although he lamented the Titan God King's determination to fight to the death with their angels, Binghua showed no mercy at all. In this physical war, no matter what reason the Titan King, the initiator, has, he cannot erase the fact that he is the enemy. Facing the slow-moving target, among all Binghua's weapons and attack methods, there was one that was just right for the current situation. The parts of the shattered star blade were quickly carried out by Binghua, and combined with each other to increase their size. The Titan God King on the ground did not give up resistance. A majestic energy was held in his right hand and spread around him. As he moved, the ground around him began to shatter and float into the air. Under the huge pressure, he was compressed into several meters. Huge earth and stone polymers of more than 10 meters were shot into the air like cannonballs, wrapped in energy waves. Seeing countless earth and rocks coming with terrifying force, Binghua flipped the 7-killing king sword in his hand, and while maintaining the calculation of transporting the star blade of destruction, he slashed forward with slender flaming slashes. As soon as the slender flame slash touched the thrown earth and rocks, it reacted violently with the force field energy wrapped on it and exploded directly. Even though Binghua tried very hard to intercept with his flaming slash, there were still a lot of earth and rocks wrapped in force field energy that hit the unformed star blade of destruction in the air, seriously interfering with Binghua's transportation. Base. Silver cold light emerged, and dozens of silver blades, controlled by Kesha, silently arrived at the left arm of the Titan God King at some point, as the silver blades continued to cut. The armor that originally withstood the bombardment of Skyblade's main cannon and was thus damaged could no longer withstand the sharpness of the dark silver weapon. In the brilliant sparks, the Titan God King's left arm holding the sword and gun was separated from his body. Affected by the pain of his broken arm, the Titan God King swayed weakly, but in the end he still managed to hold on without falling. He opened his right hand to grab the sword and gun that fell aside. But a black chain was wrapped around the right calf of the Titan God King. There was a dull loud noise, and the Titan God King's huge body fell to the ground. Even so, the Titan God King did not give up grabbing the sword and gun, because it was the basis of his survival, but soon he found that he had no chance to get his weapon back. Liang Bing's only weapon on the table is the chain strengthened by Binghua, and his skill in using this weapon is naturally not low. Folding the space where the chain itself is, thus creating a force that drags it backwards. Liang Bing can boast very arrogantly that as long as the chain is strong enough, she can pull a sky blade out of the universe. "Sister, please cut this big guy into pieces." Kesha didn't say anything, but her actions were the best answer. She was extremely focused at the moment, and her fingers that controlled the silver blade were brought together and turned around to aim at the Titan God King. The combined silver blade, which was 2 sizes smaller than the large silver blade, took advantage of the Titan God King's fall and pierced through the damaged part of his armor. For a moment, dozens of silver blades were inserted into the exposed part of the Titan King's body like a hedgehog, and dark red blood without any vitality flowed out from the wounds. The Titan King's struggle was also much smaller, and Liang Bing felt this most clearly. She flapped her wings and flew upside down in mid-air until she reached the central area where she deployed the force field nodes. During this period, the Titan God King was also dragged several hundred meters. This distance is not short, but for the Titan God King who is over 100 meters tall, it is only a short distance. But he had no chance to resist again. Binghua had already carried out the Star Blade of Destruction, and the Star Blade of Destruction, which was measured in hundreds of meters, was pointed at him from a distance like a suspended sword of judgment. The silver sword of the Star Blade of Destruction lit up with countless criss-crossing scorching red lines, and the scorching red energy boiling inside made the sword full of dangerous dark energy currents. Binghua didn't say a word. She floated in the air and raised her left hand above her head, then immediately pressed it down. At the same time, the floating Star Blade of Destruction also began to fall simultaneously. With the addition of its own huge mass, the falling speed became faster and faster. There was even a faint wave of fire that separated to both sides of the blade. After a loud roar of ground cracking was heard, accompanied by a tremor of the earth, most of the blade of the Star Blade of Destruction, which was more than a kilometer long, sank into the earth. Countless cracks spread around its impact point, and the inside of the cracks seemed to be flowing. The burning fire. As all this stopped, the world also became silent. Binghua exhaled heavily and landed towards the ground. In the end, Binghua found the remains of the Titan God King on the side of the blade of the Destruction Star Blade, in the area where the lava was surging. Half of his body had disappeared, and all the flesh, and internal organs at the wound had been burned into charcoal. There is a faint green smoke. The annihilation battle against the Titan King ended in a dull way. Keisha just went through a cutscene and used the silver wings to divert some of the Titan King's attention. This made Kesha a little disappointed with the process of the battle. After that, the angels began to clean up the battlefield and recovered the remains of the Titan God King, and the most important thing was his weapon inlaid with special crystals. The Kamigawa fleet, which had long been prepared to retreat, made a request to the angel to return after learning the outcome of the battle. Keisha could hear the urgency in Kamigawa's tone, and as an ally, Angel had no need to deliberately delay, so she agreed to return. The combined fleet left the broken Titan behind and prepared to leave the star system. The target was tentatively set to be the large starport in the Divine River on the outskirts of the Titan domain. A month has passed since the battle in the Titan God's domain. Kamigawa's expedition force has completed its assembly and is preparing to quickly return to the new Kamigawa galaxy to deal with the triangular creatures that are gradually eating away at their rear. As an ally, the angels naturally cannot stay out of the matter. This is something that was already discussed when Kamigawa and the angels established the alliance. But before the large army of angels left, Binghua General stayed in the Red Star Ring to eliminate the Tianding Stars and Sabata War alliance that still existed. After repeated weighing, Kesha finally agreed to Binghua's proposal, although she did not want to lose a powerful combatant in the subsequent war against the triangular creatures. But according to some of the dark information scanned by Angel, a considerable number of warriors from the Titan Protoss left Titan before Angel and Kamigawa approached it, and went to unknown destinations. Although Kesha did not take the Tianding Stars, Sabata War Alliance, and the split Shima Empire that still existed in the Red Star Ring to her heart, she still paid great attention to the Titan Protoss, a beast body civilization that regarded itself as a god. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 415. A few months passed in the blink of an eye, and the war in the Red Star Ring was over for the angels, and the powerful Titan clan was completely defeated. But for the beast body civilization, especially the civilizations such as Tianding and Sabata that have always been affiliated civilizations of the Titan Protoss, this is disastrous news. But they should be thankful that the main forces of Angel and Kamigawa have left the Red Star Ring, otherwise they will face the horrific consequences of star destruction and annihilation. Angel Ran, who was left behind, still had abilities as an angel commander. She followed the instructions of her queen Binghua when she left and did not let the few remaining angel warriors rush to the front line. Instead, the affiliated civilizations of the angels are assigned to charge forward, and the angels will only provide them with partial support when they need it, to attack those powerful targets or difficult planetary strongholds. As for whether the subordinate civilizations of Angel are happy or not, of course they are. Except for several civilizations such as the goddess of ice and ice, the Sakas with extremely fanatical beliefs, and the Kebrei who has no choice, other civilizations want to get Angel. The distribution of offensive rights broke out. Relying on power cannot give them motivation. Only tangible benefits can make them actively want to fight for us. Angel Ran now firmly believes in the Queen's words. The angel civilization promises that as long as the affiliated civilization attacks the planet of the beast civilization, it will have the right to develop the planet. Although the Red Star Ring is very far away from the Angel Nebula, with the help of the large Stargate, the journey time between the Angel Nebula and the Red Star Ring is not unacceptable. In the Angel Nebula, because of Kesha's power, all conflicts have been strangled in their infancy. Strong civilizations cannot conquer weak civilizations to expand their territories. Weak civilizations lack resources due to location issues and cannot expand to other surrounding civilizations. Expand and develop yourself. Therefore, after the angels promised that they could obtain the development rights of the planets in the Red Star Ring star domain, these civilizations, which were oppressed by the angels' power and put away their sharp claws and fangs and pretended to be good babies, showed their aggression again. Weak civilizations united with each other, while stronger civilizations chose to go it alone. For a time, the Red Star Ring turned into a vast sea, and the life planets in the field of beast body civilization became prosperous islands that attracted greed. The affiliated civilizations who followed the angels to the Red Star Ring turned into pirates and were gearing up to attack these prosperous islands. Binghua, who was already on her way to the new Kamigawa galaxy, was not surprised at all by the current situation of the Red Star Ring. It would be better to say that this was caused by her. What's wrong with Binghua? From the look of you, Ran has sent you some good news again. Kesha sat casually on the chair, slightly lowered the gold-bound book in her hand, and asked with a smile. Binghua nodded without any intention of being secretive. The situation in Red Star Ring has been stabilized, and there should be no more problems in the future. However, there is still no trace of the Titans, they just disappeared out of thin air. Binghua frowned slightly and said, while Kesha shook her head slightly. Binghua, you don't need to take this matter too seriously, it's just some defeated generals. If they just disappear, that's it. If they still dare to come forward, I don't mind destroying them again. Kesha's understatement was very confident as a civilized king. Seeing this, Binghua temporarily put aside the worries in his heart and started chatting with Kesha. Before they chatted for too long, Liangbing suddenly opened the door and walked in, shouting, "Sister, are you there?" Seeing Binghua here, Liangbing said hello smoothly, and then sat down on the chair next to Kesha familiarly. Seeing that Kesha had no intention of making a sound, Liangbing changed his sitting position from time to time and twisted around on the chair. Finally, he couldn't bear it anymore and asked Zoe with a hint of excitement. "Sister, after we arrive in the new Kamigawa galaxy, do we need to go to the academy called What Is It in Kamigawa first?" Kesha couldn't help but sigh after hearing this, a little helpless at Liangbing's behavior like a curious baby. "Sister, just tell me. My space-time gene research has been stuck in a bottleneck for a long time. This time I finally managed to go to the old man's base camp in space. No matter what, I have to get some theoretical knowledge in this area." The helplessness on Kesha's face disappeared, with a trace of undetectable endearment in her expression, and her fingers gently stroked Liangbing's long brown hair hanging down her back. "You. After all, you are the king of apocalypse of the angel civilization, and you are my assistant. You don't even know the name of Shenhe Academy established in space. I don't know what to say to you." Binghua on the side was a little embarrassed when she heard this. She didn't seem to know that the academy-like place where the space was located was called Kamigawa Academy. Liangbing leaned on Kesha's body and hugged Kesha's lower abdomen that was not covered by armor intimately. Kesha had no intention of resisting or stopping her. The two sisters rarely got so close, so she cherished this precious opportunity. The main reason is Kesha's own personality problem. She is not the kind of being who would take the initiative to get close to other angels. Only when Liangbing takes the initiative to get closer will Kesha reveal her rare sister side. Binghua and Kesha have known each other for thousands of years, and they are called sisters. Naturally, they are aware of Kesha's somewhat awkward personality. Liangbing was not surprised. As Kesha's biological sister, Kesha's current reaction seemed normal to her. After a while, Kesha was helpless by Liangbing, so she started to say helplessly, "Okay, okay. I will ask space for you if they are willing to borrow theoretical knowledge books on genetic engineering. If they are willing, I will tell you." Seeing that his goal was achieved, Liangbing loosened his arms around Kesha's belly and sat back happily. "You really deserve to be my sister, so please." Liangbing put her hands together in front of her chest as if to pray, and then she asked curiously, "Sister, what are you and Binghua talking about? When I came in just now, I saw that your discussion was in harmony." Binghua spoke up first, and said calmly, "It's just some opinions on the current situation in Kamigawa." Hearing this, Liangbing also became interested. What does that old man from space have to discuss? But I am quite impressed by one of his students. By the way, Binghua, you should also know that when he first came to Merlot Heaven from space, the young man standing on his left wearing a blue robe seemed to be named Carl. His reaction at that time was so cute. I just smiled at him and blinked, and he turned red and lowered his head, not daring to look at me. Liangbing patted his thigh happily as he spoke. Binghua also recalled that scene when he heard this. He remembered that at that time, he thought that the young man named Carl lowered his head to avoid his sight, but he didn't expect it. He was teased by this guy Liangbing. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifen Si Wang. Chapter 416. The new Kamigawa galaxy, the star system where Kamigawa Academy is located, is the center of collective power of the new Kamigawa civilization. This star system has not received much development due to the arrival of the descendants of Kamigawa. Except for a very large college and an affiliated super-genetic engineering research institution built on the living planet inside the star system, there is not even a large-scale star defense zone built here. Of course, Binghua will not underestimate the strength of Shenhe Academy just because there is no stellar defense zone here, because no one knows what the Shenhe civilization has to offer. Just like the base camp of the female angel, isn't Merlo heaven usually hidden in the cracks of space? It will only really appear in the Merlo galaxy when needed. The arrival of the angel civilization was warmly welcomed by Kamigawa's top leaders, led by Space. As a wholly leftist, Binghua was not keen on political compromise. She preferred to discuss things with tough-blooded soldiers like Texas. Kesha also knew Hyuka's character, so she didn't force her to participate in negotiations with Kamigawa's senior officials. After setting up the Heavenly Blade Fleet, Hyuka started touring the Kamigawa Academy as an entourage of the King of Angels. As the holy left wing of the angel civilization, Binghua held a prominent position, and Space specially sent one of his students to show her around the academy. Your Excellency Binghua, this is the central library of Kamigawa Academy. Many important knowledge of our Kamigawa civilization are recorded in books that store dark information and are available for borrowing by the students of the academy at any time. Because of Hyuka's special request, the only person who showed her around Kamigawa Academy was the woman with black hair and purple eyes in front of her. Although she was wearing a looser purple robe with black edges, it could still be seen from the hem of her robe that swayed as she moved around. This woman named Kasha has an unexpectedly good figure. Hyuka looked at the Kamigawa library that Kasha mentioned. It was a huge circular building with floor-to-ceiling windows. It was full of Kamigawa's unique technological aesthetic. This made him accustomed to the holy and luxurious architecture of angels. Binghua couldn't help but look at it for a while. Kasha on the side asked very discerningly, "Your Excellency Binghua, if you are curious, I can take you inside to take a look." Binghua was surprised when he heard this and said, "Is this okay? I'm not from Shenhe Academy." Kasha just smiled and explained, "Teacher Space once said that knowledge is used to spread and discuss with each other. Only in this way can we make progress. Our Kamigawa Academy opens the door to everyone who is willing to learn the knowledge of Kamigawa civilization." Hearing this, Binghua sighed, "Your space teacher is quite generous. Well, can you take me in to have a look?" Kasha made a gesture of invitation, "I am willing to serve you." In fact, Binghua also knew in his heart that despite what Kasha said, most of the books in the library were probably basic theoretical books, specially designed to be open to the outside world. The real cutting-edge core knowledge should be in the confidential database of Shenhe Academy for borrowing by the core members of Shenhe Academy. As for Kasha, who led her on the tour, as a student of space, she was undoubtedly one of the people who could borrow core knowledge. After entering the library, the result was just as Binghua expected. Most of the books he saw were books on basic theory. If you were willing to calm down and study here, you might gain something good, but now Binghua didn't have the time, so in the end Binghua just borrowed a few books on force fields and gravity. Kasha, who was just watching silently during the whole process, was a little surprised. She knew very well the identity of this beautiful black-haired angel, the holy left wing of the angel civilization, and an extremely powerful war god. The reason why Kasha is so surprised is all due to her impression of the Kamigawa war gods. Needless to say, Texas, a real man of iron blood who only knows how to chop with his own axe. Linyuan and the fallen blade of Kamigawa are also the kind of people who only delve into the energy-driven technologies loaded with their own genetic engines, and do not learn common theoretical knowledge to enrich themselves. Your Excellency Binghua, are you interested in this knowledge? Binghua did not answer Kasha's question immediately, but reminded him helplessly, I already told you that you don't have to keep calling me Your Excellency, Your Excellency. After saying this, Binghua casually answered Kaisha's question, I can't say that I like it. I just had some combat inspiration recently, so I checked out the relevant information, and I happened to see it just now. Binghua did not hide anything and openly confessed his purpose. Kaisha was a little disappointed when she heard this. She thought Binghua was a combat theologian. After that, Kaisha led Binghua to visit many places in Zhenhe Academy. As the exchanges between the two increased, and Binghua specifically mentioned it, Binghua got a lot of information out of Kaisha's mouth. Perhaps because she was under great pressure as a space student, after Kaisha started chatting, she shook out some information that was not necessary to keep secret. Kaisha is not actually from Kamigawa, but because of her talent in dark information computing cloud, she was accepted as a student by Space, and her status has also jumped from an ordinary scholar to a core member of Kamigawa Academy. According to Kaisha, there are a total of 4 students in Space, and she is ranked 3rd. Each of them has a senior brother and senior sister, and a junior who has recently become a teacher's student. Among them, only Lan Bing, Kaisha's senior sister, is an orthodox descendant of the ancient Kamigawa like her teacher. She, her senior brother Sel, and her junior brother Carl were all spotted by the teacher because of their talents, so they became his students. Among them, Seer likes to study energy drive, but Lan Bing is not sure because her senior sister is very withdrawn and doesn't like to communicate with other people. As for Kaisha herself, she likes to study the dark plane computing cloud, while her junior brother Carl has a soft spot for all kinds of less popular knowledge and likes to pursue the essence of some seemingly inconspicuous problems. This is not to say that Carl's basic knowledge of orthodoxy is not good, it is just a matter of his personal preferences. But because of this, Space seems to like Carl, a new student. On the other side, the negotiation between the Angels and the top management of Kamigawa did not seem to be as smooth as expected, because after Binghua returned to the flagship from Kamigawa Academy, he saw that there was no joy on Keisha's face, but a frown on her face, as if something was bothering her. Generally, the facts were similar to what Binghua thought. When Keisha was negotiating with the top management of Kamigawa, she found that the decision-making level of Kamigawa's civilization was a bit confusing. During the negotiation, Kamigawa's space has made the decision to launch a counterattack against the triangular creatures, and pay a certain price to ask the Angels for help. Kesha was very satisfied with the price offered by the space, and agreed to the Angels sending out all the expeditionary forces to conquer the triangle. However, because the benefits promised to the Angels by Space were too huge, the civilized leaders within Kamigawa were very dissatisfied with this. They fought with each other on the issue of the coalition forces and frantically held back Space, which resulted in the negotiations not being fully finalized in the end. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifen Si Wang. Chapter 417. Although New Kamigawa claims to be a powerful civilization that integrates many Kamigawa civilizations, the real situation is not the same. According to Hyoka's observations and some information collected during his last visit to Kamigawa Academy, although the leader of New Kamigawa is a former descendant of ancient Kamigawa, he is not a single entity within the Kamigawa civilization. Compared to his status as the leader of Kamigawa, Space is more like the dean of Kamigawa Academy. He likes to teach students in the academy and spread the knowledge and ideas of ancient Kamigawa. Below the status of Space are the mainstays of the New Kamigawa civilization. Those powerful leaders of civilization who have been promoted to the primary god-making civilization are the royal family of the blazing stars from the Kamigawa Tiandeo galaxy and the leaders of the Dino double star system. The royal family of the Thunderblade stars in the Kamigawa Thunder galaxy, and the head of the Lance Star Empire in the ancient Yucca galaxy. These civilizations were all visited by the descendants of Kamigawa, who led the descendants of Kamigawa to wander in the universe in the early years of space, and left a profound impact on them. These civilizations that have just entered the stage of creating gods, because they have been influenced by the ideas of the descendants of Kamigawa in space, all believe that the Kamigawa civilization should occupy a dominant position in the universe. Therefore, when they reorganized the Kamigawa civilization in space, established a pan-civilization alliance, and resisted the large-scale invasion of beast civilization, they were also the first responders. The reason why the military strength of the new Kamigawa can match the Titans who control a large star cluster, the competition between the gods, is also due to the fact that the addition of these civilizations has caused the strength of this new civilization alliance to expand extremely rapidly. But the development of things was not as beautiful as space expected. Even though the civilizations who joined the alliance respected him very much, there was no sign of integrating into a whole. Instead, due to the differences in their respective customs and cultures, conflicts often occurred. Some conflicts are considered big or small, but not small. Today, thousands of years have passed since the establishment of New Kamigawa. As time goes by, the conflicts between various civilizations have become more and more serious. Some civilizations have even stopped communicating with each other in private. Space relies on its own prestige and the several war gods of Kamigawa who take orders from him, plus the fact that the two great enemies of the animal civilization and the triangular creatures are watching eagerly from the side, so that it can rely on its prestige to suppress the internal conflicts of New Kamigawa. As for those lower-level ordinary civilizations, they have no right to speak at the high-level meetings of Kamigawa. They can only contribute part of the benefits of their own civilization while accepting the protection of New Kamigawa. The threat of animal civilization was officially announced not long ago, and Shin Kamigawa, who was left with only the triangular creature as a threat, finally breathed a sigh of relief, but at the same time, some of the internal conflicts that had been accumulated for a long time finally broke out. That's why there was a scene where people inside New Kamigawa were holding back when Kesa was negotiating with space. Although Binghua was concerned about this matter, she did not worry too much. She took advantage of her rare free time to study in the central library of Kamigawa College, and exchanged some information with Kaisha about the Dark Plane Computing Cloud. Knowledge. Not to mention, during this period, Binghua actually found out some inside information about Kamigawa. Of course, most of them were Binghua's bold guesses based on Kaisha's words. Kamigawa seems to have made a breakthrough in the Dark Plane Computing Cloud technology recently. Kaisha mentioned some bold conjectures of hers during the conversation with Binghua. Ordinary super warriors rely on extracting dark energy from the dark plane and converting it into their own energy source, and then use the energy algorithm already set in the gene engine to enhance their explosive power in combat. The God of War is different. The God of War is a super project that a civilization must use up most of its resources and consume countless manpower and material resources to complete. The results obtained by consuming such huge resources are naturally not comparable to those of super soldiers who can be mass-produced. The God of War's own genetic engine has powerful control over dark energy and can resist the erosion of dark energy to a certain extent. It can directly use unconverted dark energy as an energy source, but there is a degree to which it exists. The size of this degree largely depends on the focus of the God of War gene model. The fundamental reason is still related to the computing power of the gene engine. However, the ancient Kamigawa civilization had discovered this a long time ago. Through research and exploration of the dark plane, it invented the Dark Plane Computing Cloud, a technology that can assist in increasing the computing power of the God of War gene engine. But in the final analysis, the Dark Plane Computing Cloud is only an auxiliary computing technology and cannot truly make a qualitative change in the combat effectiveness of the God of War. And with the renewal of the divine body, the destructive power of the fighting god gradually failed to keep up with the rhythm of his own fighting. If we use a more popular metaphor to describe it, it is that the divine body is equivalent to a protective shell that can store energy. The supergenes spread throughout the cells of the body are equivalent to miniature supercomputers. The genetic engine located in the dark plane is to control everything. Main control core. But now the protective shell has become stronger than before, and the capacity has been expanded a lot. However, the main control center and system are still the same model as before, with only some external parts added to improve efficiency. This has resulted in the battle of the God of War. It is difficult to control energy more delicately. Regarding this situation, Kasha put forward an idea. If there is an extremely powerful supercomputer connected to the genetic engine of the God of War to share the computing power, will this allow the current God-making project to achieve another breakthrough? However, it is not easy to achieve such conditions. First of all, it is difficult to miniaturize a supercomputer with more powerful computing power than the genetic engine of a war god. Moreover, the energy consumption during startup is extremely staggering. It can easily kill a war god. Sucked alive. Binghua deeply agrees with this point. Because of the data docking technology obtained from the Eternal Ascended One, the angel civilization invented a method to connect data with the Skyblade, thereby enjoying the technology of Skyblade's computing power to assist in combat. As a user and developer, Binghua is very aware of the shortcomings of this technology. The first one is that it cannot be too far away from the Skyblade. The second one is that it has high requirements for users, requiring a certain foundation in dark informatics, and the computing power bonus they enjoy is also very limited. Ordinary angels can only use it to predict the enemy's attack trajectory. The time was spent chatting and discussing between Binghua and Kasha. The relationship between Binghua and Kasha also became much better than before, from people who knew each other to relatively good friends. The negotiation between Angel and Kamigawa was finally finalized on the 15th day after Kesha arrived at Kamigawa Academy. This time, Angel will be the main force in the battle to destroy the triangular creatures, and Kamigawa's troops will assist in the operation. Binghua has yet to know the price paid for space, but he also knows that if the price is not enough, Kesha will not accept this thankless job on behalf of the angels. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifen Si Wang. Chapter 418. In the new Kamigawa Galaxy, the Aten star system not far from the area occupied by the triangular organisms, the Skyblade fleet led by Binghua has been here for half a month. After more than 10 days of exploration and intelligence collection, in the end, Binghua made up his mind and decided to locate the command center of the Angel Expeditionary Corps here. Aten is a pristine Earth-like planet with a relatively primitive environment. The planet contains only a trace amount of oxygen and has a thin atmosphere. Because of the prototype's unusually weak atmosphere, the climate of Aten is very harsh, and the temperature difference between day and night can sometimes reach nearly 100 degrees. On such a harsh planet, except for a very small number of small underground creatures and special plants, no other life can survive. Maybe in tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of years, the ecology of this planet will become extremely prosperous. However, the arrival of the angel broke the peace of Aten. In order to survive, the female angel carried out large-scale transformation of the planet that day. The first is to establish an artificial gas circulation device to speed up the accumulation of the Aten star's atmosphere, so that the ecological evolution of tens or millions of years can be completed in just a few days. After possessing oxygen and other common gases, the source of life, the angel civilization set up a simple stellar energy collection device and began to build an automatic production line for engineering robots. Then it used an intelligent system to allow the engineering robots to replicate themselves and began to follow the pre-uploaded drawings. Construction on the surface of star Aten began. This model of angel civilization is also the practice of most advanced civilizations in the universe today during their war periods. Choose a star system near the battlefield as your base camp, and then use mechanical technology to build a base and various defensive measures. Of course, for the female angel, the name of the base is not as good as the palace. After taking several days to complete the construction on the surface, a certain number of engineering robots had been accumulated and began to build a giant starport outside the atmosphere of Aten to park and maintain the Skyblade. The Skyblade fleet, which was originally distributed in the surrounding star field, began to assemble towards the Aten planet after the infrastructure of the command center in the palace was completed. At this moment, the triangular creatures in the star field near the Aten star system don't know yet that the Angel Civilization expedition fleet that came to conquer them has already arrived nearby. They are still following the orders of the upper class, searching for life planets suitable for their survival in the vast universe, and expanding their sphere of influence. Above the blue ocean, a group of triangular creatures 5 meters away were cruising in their new territory. 60% of this unknown planet is covered by oceans, and the upper-class triangular organisms that flooded into the star field immediately took a fancy to this planet. Immediately after their arrival, the superior triangular organisms began to genetically corrode and stimulate the planet's marine organisms, accelerating their evolution. In just 1 month, the size of marine organisms with evolutionary potential in the ocean has undergone tremendous changes. No matter what species they were before, their bodies began to grow rapidly, and their skin became dark and smooth. When the size of these creatures increases to about 5 meters, these ordinary triangular creatures transformed from native creatures will open up a certain amount of wisdom, rush out of the ocean and soar in the sky and the universe. But before that, the triangular creatures that like water will first use their talents in microwaves to affect the climate environment of the planet, increase the sea level, expand the ocean coverage area, and submerge the land on the planet. As for the damage caused during this period, destruction and killing, these triangular creatures don't care. Just when the triangular creatures, under the command of a superior being, began to affect the planet's environment and prepare to flood the continent, the space was distorted outside the planet's atmosphere. A moment later, He-Chui and a dozen angels rushed out of it. As soon as he left the wormhole created by the Skyblade, He-Chui quickly lifted up his helmet and visor and took a big breath. Although there was a vacuum in the universe, it did not prevent He-Chui from relieving the feeling of powerlessness that came from everywhere in his body. The other angel warriors also behaved in a similar manner. None of them were in good condition. They were scattered in the starry sky to rest and recover from the load on their bodies when traveling through the wormhole. Even so, they subconsciously formed a ring formation that could support each other. Sister Zui, the remote wormhole shuttle technology invented by King Apocalypse is really beyond the capabilities of ordinary angels. I almost thought I was going to die in the wormhole just now. A female angel patted her chest and said fearfully, and another female angel beside her also answered. Me too. When I go back, I will definitely not use this thing to travel. I would rather fly back slowly. Heikui did not participate in the discussions and complaints among the angels in the team. The main purpose of her and more than a dozen female angels appearing here was to investigate the reality of this planet that was suspected to be occupied by the Triangle. As for why she jumped out of the wormhole just now, it was because King Apocalypse moved one of her research results, the long-range micro-wormhole shuttle technology, to the Skyblade battleship. It can also be said to be another application of Stargate technology. Its main purpose it is to quickly complete the deployment of troops, raid the enemy's vulnerable positions, etc. However, this technology has not yet matured. Just now during the shuttle process, He-Chui and his angels experienced the pain and feeling of their bodies being torn apart and then put back together again. Although the process was a bit unpleasant, this technology allowed Crane to chase their group of angels to their destination. After seeing that the angels were almost resting, He-Chui interrupted them and began to explain the mission requirements. As the commander of the angels, Binghua's idea is very simple, that is to first find a planet where there are relatively few triangular creatures, so that the angels under his command can first become familiar with the triangular combat methods to prevent future problems due to lack of understanding of the enemy. Huge casualties. After various aspects of intelligence collection and Tianren's long-range scanning technology screening, we finally found a planet that met Binghua's requirements among the many planets occupied by the Triangle. For the safety of the investigation operation, Binghua specially asked He Chui to lead the team, which was an added insurance for the investigation team. Under the order of Heikui, the team was simply divided. 2 angels conducted reconnaissance as a team, while Heikui, as insurance, was on standby outside the atmosphere to support the team in danger at any time. After Hizui briefly and crudely described his thoughts, he asked the angels present, "Do you have any objections? If not, take action immediately. I don't want to stay here for too long." The female angels who completed the grouping wanted to say something bad. "You have arranged everything. If we still have objections, wouldn't we be making ourselves uncomfortable?